G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Trewin. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it.
Well, welcome everyone. Today we're talking with Troy about the Net Promoter Score. So, Troy, I guess the first obvious question, what is the Net Promoter Score?
Net Promoter Score, NPS is often called, is a great tool that can be used in a business to help gauge customer loyalty. So it's a very simple question, and you may have heard it, both big companies and small companies use it. So Apple, Telstra, for example, the question simply is, how likely are you to recommend us to a friend or a colleague between 0 and 10? And what's really important is it's 0, not 1, and 10.
Yeah, I think we've all had a few of those surveys sent our way over time.
Yeah, even on the phone. Sorry, when you close out, a customer service call with someone, they say, "Can you just hold on, and we've just got a quick survey." And often it's just that one question because it is quite a powerful measurement to see how happy or pissed off someone is with the service you've just delivered them.
So, how does it work?
It was developed in the late 90s, I think, by Bain and Company. A guy, Fred Reichheld, developed that with Bain and Company, which is a big management company in the US. And it's just simple and transparent with that one question. And what you do, it's not a percentage out of those 0 to 10 scores. What you do is anyone that gives you a 9 or a 10 is labeled a promoter. So they're people that love your business and the service or the products that you provide. And so they will literally stop people in the street and rave about your business. And the other side is the detractors. So anyone that scores you between 0 and 6 are known as detractors, and particularly closer to 0, these are people that are going to also stop people in the street but trash your business because they're really pissed off with their experience either recently or over time. And then the 7 and 8s are what are called passive. So they don't, we don't really care about the 7 and 8s because people are ambivalent.
Yeah.
And all you need to do then is work out the percentage of detractors and minus that from the percentage of promoters, and you'll end up with either a positive or a negative score. So again, it's not a percentage, and to get above positive 20 is difficult. Above 50 positive is extremely good. And then anything 70 above is mind-blowing. Because if you think about it, that means that out of 100, let's say you didn't have any passives. If you've got 100 survey results and there were no passives in there, no 7 or 8s, that simply means that 70 people gave you a 9 or a 10 and 30 people gave you below 7. So that's a pretty powerful score that 70 people were out there raving about your business to anyone that walked by.
Yeah. So when should you use it? Is this something everyone should use? Or is there a particular timing of when you should use it? Should you use it regularly?
Yeah, I think there's 2 areas you can use it. Even if you're not a customer-facing business per se, where you can have access to survey your customers with this one question, you can also use it internally for your team to gauge how happy they are working with you. So I think, I encourage businesses to run a quarterly anonymous team survey where there's about 15 questions that I pulled out of a great book I read years ago, which is First Break All the Rules, What the World's Best Managers Do by Marcus Buckingham. But the NPS question is the first question we ask in that survey, because that is a really good barometer to see how happy people are at the business and what the culture's like.
Yeah.
So if that score is below positive 20, that means you've got a real problem with your culture or your managers in your business. Perhaps they're incompetent, they haven't been trained well enough, or they're just simply an arsehole. So it's a good way to measure your team satisfaction. And then externally, if you're running a business where you can easily survey your customers, so for example, one of the businesses I've sat on the board of here for the last 7 years, Ratho Farm, about an hour out of Hobart. Australia's oldest golf course, 18-hole golf course. It's got 21 beautiful rooms in the old convict cottages that have been done up. And when people stay, after they check out, they get an email, thanks for staying, etc. Here are our socials if you would like to leave a review. And there's a 2 to 3 minute survey we'd love for you to fill out. And the first question, obviously, on that one is the Net Promoter Score. We also ask just a handful of other quick questions so we don't bury people and turn them off from filling out the survey. So another good tip on this is just to ask, what's one thing you would change about your experience with us? What's one thing you wouldn't change? And we'll obviously ask who was the manager on duty so we can give them feedback, positive and negative. And then the last one is any other feedback for us. And that's great because people can just download, if they're really unhappy with their experience in their stay, they can vent through that survey, which blocks a lot of negative stuff going onto social media. Conversely to that, if there are glowing reviews, then we can use that on social medias as testimonials, just, the person's first name and just the initial of their last name, for example, what year and month they stayed and what city they're from. And that's been really a great, rich source of testimonials. And then finally, great feedback for the team, both positive and negative. When someone raves about their experience, and we can say who the manager was, we can say, this was all due to the great work that you've done, and also things that we need to improve around the property as well. We pick up those things and see trends and themes. Great. And we do tie the NPS score to some of our managers' bonuses as well, because it's such an important metric to make sure that our customers are happy.
Yeah.
Want to become the best manager you can be? Check out our Kick-Ass Manager course at growasmallbusiness.com. Do the course and add your fellow managers for no extra cost. Join the 30%. 70% of people quit their job because of their manager.
Yeah. So one of the criticisms I've heard about the NPS score is that potentially it doesn't give you enough data to actually get the real insights as to what the problems are that's causing the negative score. But I think what you're saying there is that you use it in conjunction with a few other questions as well to get a well-rounded picture as to what's going on. But I guess the NPS score gives you that that overall benchmark as to where you're sitting. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that's right. Particularly if you've got a lot of data points, if you've got a lot of people staying or experiencing your business products or services, it can be quite a reliable metric. We had Tara Howe from Blue Derby Pods, also here in Tasmania, northeast of Tasmania. Beautiful experience. I haven't stayed there yet, but episode 172, I had Tara on there. And I'm finding probably about a quarter of our guests on the podcast, as I said before, we're at about episode 230 at the moment when we're recording this. They use Net Promoter Score. Tara used it, and I asked the question and asked what her number was, and she said, well, to be honest, we've never got anything other than a 10 out of 10, which is absolutely phenomenal. Wow. Considering they would have had thousands of, and for the audience, for the context, Blue Derby Pods are beautiful pods in the wilderness in northeast Tasmania for mountain bikers to stay in, and they have a 2 or 3 day mountain biking package that includes accommodation and the food's provided, etc. It's a great experience. I think it's $3,000 or $4,000 per person, so it's a high-end experience. And they've been open 5 or 6 years now, and they've had thousands, of mountain bikers stay. For them to only ever get a 10 out of 10 is phenomenal, in my eyes. But yeah, you're right. It can be a weak data point if it's solely all that's used. But if you can, like I gave the example of Ratho Farm, we ask 3 other questions: one thing you change, one thing you wouldn't, any other feedback. And the manager. So it's 4 other questions. Then you can garner. We get so much information from that last question, any other feedback, and people just download both in a positive and a negative way. But the NPS, because it's measurable, it's a simple measurement. It's easy to track over time. We measure it quarterly. What was our Net Promoter Score for the last quarter? And as I said, we tie part of our managers' bonuses to that number.
Yep, excellent. So I guess one of the things we've promised our listeners is some clear actions they can go and implement in their business. What's an action or two that you've got for us to take away and do?
Go to the Grow a Small Business website, and on our blog, search for NPS, N for Nelly, Net Promoter Score, and you will find an article I wrote about NPS as I was sipping cocktails on a beach in Thailand early in 2011 as I was moving back to Australia from London. Yeah, it took me a while to write the article, but because people were asking me about it, etc., and I wrote a short piece on that. So it's really easy to understand for business owners to implement. And then secondly, in our free resources on our website, we have a simple NPS calculator so you can hit the ground running, and a template for a basic exit survey that I just mentioned. Then you can roll out in minutes to your team or customers. So you can just copy that, pick that up, and add the links into your exit emails.
Excellent. Thanks, Troy.
Thanks, Rob.
And for our audience, we would greatly appreciate a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. More reviews means we bubble up higher in iTunes, etc., so more business owners looking for podcast help with their growth will find us.